A pleasant day to everyone. We are group number 5 and we will be discussing about Dr. Jose Rizal's return to the Philippines and his deportation to Dapitan. Now, for those of you who do not know where Dapitan is, it is the city in the province of Zamboanga del Norte, located in northern Mindanao, where Rizal was exiled, to which it will be discussed later on in this video. So let us first talk about Rizal's first homecoming. So before returning to the Philippines, he was actually in Marseilles, France, wherein he studied ophthalmologist under his mentor, Dr. Louise de Recker. And the very reason why is because of her mother's condition back then, where she had cataracts in her left eye, or the clouding of the lens of her eyes, causing her to have blurred vision. So after his 3-month stay there or sojourn there, upon discovering Rizal's intention to return to the Philippines, there were 3 people who warned him into coming back, mainly Pasiano, who was his brother, Silvestre Ubaldo, who is his brother-in-law, and Jose M. Cecilio, who nicknamed Chengoy, who was one of his dearest friends. Now, they all had the same reason to why they were warning Rizal into coming back, which was either he might be taken into arrest by the Spaniards, or worse, take his life once he returns back. But this did not stop Rizal's determination to go back, because he was really determined to return and accomplish his goals. So what are the reasons why Rizal was determined to go back? Well, first of all, to of course operate in his mother's eyes. Her mother is Theodora Alonso Rialonda y Quintos, and again, she had a cataract in her eye, causing her to have blurred vision. And since it was not ripe yet during that time he came back, he was not able to fully operate it yet, but he was able to do so a couple years later. So next reason was, of course, to serve his people who had been oppressed by the Spanish tyrants. Now we all know that this was the very reason why Rizal started all of this, why he wrote all of his publications in the first place, so that he could be able to educate and fight for the lives of the Filipinos despite not being in the Philippines. And the next one is, of course, to inquire why Leonor Rivera remains silent. So Leonor Rivera is his sweetheart, childhood sweetheart. So upon discovering his return back to the Philippines, Rizal cannot help but question why Leonor remained silent to him and did not want to meet him. So he then tried to go visit her in Tarlac, but that's when he came to realize that his parents forbade him to go because of the fact that Leonor's mother did not want him to become her son-in-law. So the next reason is to find out himself how Noli and his other writings were affecting Filipinos and Spaniards in the Philippines. So this is where it becomes interesting, because one of the instances is when a few weeks later after his arrival, Rizal received a letter from Governor General Emilio Terrero requesting him to come to the Malacañang Palace, where he asked him for a copy of the Noli Me Tangere. And Rizal, during that time, he did not have a copy yet to provide the Governor General, but after a few weeks he came back to and was able to give him a copy, which then his enemies later then found out about his shenanigans, and that's where they started to plot their plan against Dr. Jose Rizal.
Next are reasons of Rizal's deportation. First, Rizal published books and articles. Rizal had published books and articles abroad which showed disloyalty to Spain and which were frankly anti-Catholic and imprudently anti-friar. The reason why he published these books and articles is because he was a Freemason at the time that he was still working on the novels. When we say Freemasons, They are the anti-Catholics, which explains why Rizal wrote negatively about the friars. Next is El Filibusterismo. His novel El Filibusterismo was dedicated to the memory of the three traitors, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, also known as Gomburza, and on the title page he wrote that in view of the vices and errors of the Spanish administration, the only salvation for the Philippines was separation from the mother country. And next, the end which he pursues in his efforts and writing is to tear from the loyal Filipino breast the treasures of our Holy Catholic faith. In addition, a few hours after his arrival in Manila, there was found in one of the packages a bundle of handbills entitled Pobres Frailes, in which the patient and humble generosity of Filipinos is satirized, and which accusations is published against the customs of the religious orders.
Aboard the steamer Cebu and under heavy guard, Rizal left Manila, sailing to Mindoro and Panay until he reached Dapitan at 7 o'clock in the evening of July 17. Rizal lived in exile in faraway Dapitan, a remote town in Mindanao which was under a missionary jurisdiction of Jesuits from 1892 to 1896. This 4-year interregnum in his life was seditiously unexciting but was abundantly fruitful with varied achievements. From that day until July 31, 1896, Dapitan became the bear witness of one of the most fruitful period of Rizal's life. His stay in the province was more than he living in exile. It was the period when Rizal had been more focused on serving the people and society through his civic works, medical practices, land developments, and the promotion of education. In Dapitan, Rizal had a scholarly debate with Father Pablo Pastels regarding religion. This exchange of heated arguments revealed the anti-Christian Rizal, his bitterness on the abuses performed by friars doing such under the name of sacred religion. Father Pastels tried his best to win Rizal back to faith, but fortunately or unfortunately in vain. Father Pastels informed the missionary that Rizal could live in the Jesuit mission house on the following condition. First, that Rizal publicly retract his errors concerning religion and make statements that were clearly pro-Spanish and against revolution. Second, that he perform church rites and make general confession of his past life. Third, that henceforth he conduct himself in an exemplary manner as a Spanish subject and a man of religion. But Rizal did not agree with these conditions. Consequently, he lived in the house of the commandant Captain Carnico. Rizal led an exemplary life, fruitful of achievements and idyllic in serenity. The members of his family took turns in visiting him in order to assuage his loneliness in Dapitan. Rizal had maximized his stay in Dapitan by devoting much of his time in improving his artistic and literary skills, doing agricultural and civic works, engaging in business activities, and writing letters to his friend in Europe, particularly to Ferdinand Blumentritt and Reinhold Rose.
I am Ira Miguel Ovilio, and I will be discussing Rizal's last day in Dapitan together with Angelica Mendoza to discuss it further. So initially, I'll talk about his last day in Dapitan. On the morning of July 31, 1896, Rizal was busy packing his belongings. He was supposed to depart town in Espa, which was returning to Manila. He had sold his properties and other assets to his friends, who were largely Dapitan locals. He and his 8 other passengers boarded the boat around 5:30 p.m. Josephine Narcisa, his sister, Angelica, daughter of Narcisa, Mauricio, son of Maria Rizal, Estanislao, son of Lucia Rizal, and Teodosio, another son of Lucia Rizal, and Mr. and Mrs. Sunico were his 8 other friends.
I am Angelica Ramos Mendoza, and I am here to continue the discussion about Rizal's last day in Dapitan. Almost everyone in Dapitan, young and old, gathered on a beach to witness the departure of their beloved doctor. Rizal's students wept because they couldn't join their master. Captain Carnicero, dressed in full commandant's regalia, was on hand to bid farewell to his prisoner, whom he had grown to adore and respect. The music for the goodbye ceremony was provided by the local brass band. The steamer left for Manila at midnight on Friday, July 31, 1896. The people of Dapitan yelled "Adios, Dr. Rizal," and hurled their hats and handkerchiefs in the air. Captain Carnicero waved goodbye to his departing companion. The brass band performed Chopin's farewell march as the boat departed town. Rizal stood up on the upper deck, his eyes swelling up with tears. He waved goodbye to the lovely and kind people of Dapitan, saying, "Adios, Dapitan." He took one final look at the packed coastline. His heart was heavy with grief. As the steamer pulled off into the sea, Rizal looked back for the final time to Dapitan, waving a farewell salute of its kind and friendly people, and sobbing with tears of nostalgia. He returned to his cabin when he could no longer see the pale coastline and wrote in his notebook and says, "I have been in this district for 4 years, 13 days and a few hours." And he wrote, "I have always loved my poor country, and I am sure that I shall love her until death if by chance men are unjust to me. And I shall enjoy the happy life, my past, my present, and my future. My life, my loves, my pleasures. I have sacrificed all of these for love of her. Happen that may, I shall die blessing her and desiring the dawn of her redemption." Ferdinand Blumentritt says, Dr. Jose Rizal was an exceptional man, unsurpassed by other Filipino heroes in talent, nobility of character, and patriotism. His exile in Dapitan possesses a keen sense of history and an aura of destiny. He kept and preserved his numerous poetical and prose writings, personal and travel diaries, scientific treatises, and hundreds of letters written to and received from his parents, brothers, sisters, friends, and even enemies. Indeed, Rizal was a man of excellence, discipline, and disposition. Rizal reminds us that even in the face of hardship, we can still make a good influence no matter what or who we are. We don't need to be afraid since we can all support each other. Things in our environment should not limit us. If he can, therefore we can. That's all for our presentation. Again, I am Angelica Ramos Mendoza and I am the leader of Group 5. Thank you for listening.